Welcome to the ISG Certified Alarm Inspection Professional Inspection course. This will take about an hour for us to go through this course, and at the end of it you should be able to do an inspection of an alarm system while you're doing your full house inspection. The course was put together by myself, Bill Gustafson, and by P. Nathan Thornberry over the last couple of years, and we've given it to hundreds of people nationwide. About 40% of the U.S. homes have alarm systems. They tend to be in the higher end and upper middle class homes. Very little time is involved in inspecting an alarm system. Some people have thought that it would take an hour more or half hour more for them to do an alarm inspection. That's not the case. It'll take about 5 or 10 minutes at the end of your regular inspection to complete the paperwork and complete the alarm inspection. We have had, after years and years of doing these alarm inspections, we've seldom, if ever, had a problem with the home inspection or the alarm inspection with the closing of the contract. But even with that known, since you are taking this course, ISG will assume 100% liability for any problems caused by the alarm inspection. Inspection is great value-added service, as you can well recognize, and it can be an additional revenue stream if you choose to have it that way. What is the scope of the course? We identify the presence of an alarm system and the type of alarm system. We identify the system components and evaluate whether they are functional at the time of inspection, which is a key component of the whole inspection process, as you'll soon find out. Understanding the operation of the system components and interface with the monitoring center, and the minimum reporting on the type of components and their location. Create an alarm inspection procedure. The objective of the course is to create an alarm inspection procedure for your company. Know how to appropriately market the alarm inspection within limitations it has, and we'll discuss at length those limitations. Learn how to competently perform inspections and report defects just like you do in your full house inspection, and offer superior service to your clients, which you already do. Evolution of alarm systems, just a little bit of a history on where we came from with alarm systems. Alarm systems have been around well over 100 years. They were primarily for furriers and banks and jewelers, and they were pretty crude alarm systems, and normally only just had a siren on the front of the building that sounded when the alarm was generated. In a few years, probably starting in the 50s, dialers were invented. These are automatic dialers. When the alarm system goes off, it transmits a voice message back to the police department telling them that there is a problem at the address 123 Main Street, and please dispatch somebody to take care of that. The problem with those dialers, the problem with those alarm systems, were that they were not very reliable, and they were generating false alarms back to police departments constantly. They would get an alarm go off, and the dialer would dial and dial and dial and give the message for a long time. What that generated, when governments have a problem with something, they normally put a permit or a regulation on the installation of alarm systems, and that's exactly what happened. And even to today, most jurisdictions in the United States require some kind of permit or at least a registration of that alarm system, which prompted the alarm industry, which was starting to get into the residential business in the 50s, to have their own monitoring centers. So rather than the alarm going directly into the police department, the alarm would go to a monitoring center with monitoring operators, and those operators would handle it and dispatch the police or the fire or the ambulance service to the house. Monitoring has changed relatively dramatically over the years. Now a typical monitoring call would be, the first call would be to the home, and if there's no answer or if somebody doesn't give them the right code word, the second call goes to a secondary number like work or a cell phone, And then finally, if all those are unsuccessful, then it would go to the police department. Starting in the 80s and 90s, wireless sensors, everything up to that time was a hardwire. That means that they were running a wire from the control panel directly to any of the sensors all around the house. It was a little messy, required a lot of time, especially in difficult houses, but it was reliable, but not very attractive in most cases. Also at the time, or soon after that, we devised, or the industry devised, wireless-based monitoring systems. Up to that time, all the alarm systems were monitored over landlines, telephone landlines, and there was a problem with, if there was any problem with the telephone system, then the house would not be monitored. So wireless, particularly nowadays, cellular or radio, are used to back up a landline monitor alarm system. And more you're seeing just exclusively wireless monitoring systems, just as you're seeing exclusively wireless sensors over the last 10 years. Probably 90% of all homes were wired, the sensors were wireless sensors. And then, as you've probably seen on television and in advertisements, the development of interactive and web-based controls, utilizing remote smartphones and computers. Nowadays, you can look in on your home through cameras, installed cameras. You can open the front door. You can answer the front door from around the world. You can turn the system on. You can turn the system off. You can do almost anything to adjust the thermostat. So, the technology on the alarm systems, just like technology in almost every industry, has jumped over the last 20 years phenomenally. What we have to do is identify the first thing that when you walk into the customer's home, you want to identify the alarm system. Does the home have an installed alarm system? And the first giveaway to this whole to that question is there a keypad, a control center on the wall, primarily closest to the door that the customer, the homeowner, uses to come and go by. If there is a keypad on the wall, then there is an alarm system in that house. You make that assumption if there's an alarm system in that house. So that's the first thing you see. Then you also see other components around the house and the control panel, but that's the first giveaway. And wired or wireless monitoring. Is a system based on the presence of telephone line, or is it wireless based? Let's talk about that when we get to the control panel, because that's how you determine whether it's a telephone landline or it's a wirelessly based communications. Question 3, are the components of the system hardwired or wireless? Once again, we'll discuss that as we take a look at the components used in an alarm system. The shape and size of the components will give you an indication whether this system is wireless, in other words, transmitting a signal back to a control panel, or is hardwired, where there's a wire runs back from that component all the way back to the control panel. Which one is better? Wireless. Hardwired components are very reliable, difficult to install, and can be unattractive. Wireless components are easier to install and very reliable. Also, they're very quick to install, and the proficiency or the technical knowledge of the technicians is less because the wireless components almost install themselves, particularly over the last 5 years. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of now do-it-yourself installations of wireless of alarm systems, and those are definitely wireless. What to report? There's a report, and we're going to review the report at the end of the presentation here. And what do you want to indicate on that report to give to that home buyer is that there's a presence of an alarm system. We'll ask that question. What type of system, and what type is not necessarily the alarm company that installed the alarm system, but we want to know the manufacturer of that alarm panel. It helps us down the road to determine what kind of functions it can perform, and how it can be utilized or how it can be operated. And the current type of monitoring, once again, we'll talk about that in a minute, about how you determine what kind of monitoring, whether it's a landline, telephone line monitoring, or it's a wireless cellular transmitting monitoring, or both. Control components. The main components of an alarm system are the keypads, obviously, and we've indicated one if you see one at that door. Normally, an alarm system will have two keypads. One located to the door that is used to come and go from the house, whether it's the front door or the garage door or the back door. And then one can be found in the master bedroom or in the bedroom area, so the alarm system can be utilized, or it can be used at night when everybody goes to bed. Always attached somehow in the house will be a control panel, and the right-hand photograph here is a picture of a control panel and also the internal guts of the control panel, battery, and the motherboard. That panel can be any color, but it's a typical panel and pretty recognizable. You'll find those control panels in out-of-the-way places like hall closets, utility rooms, master bedroom closets, just out of the way, so it's not obvious, and it's not super attractive. It's just kind of plain Jane. Control components. What to look for. The main panel, if present. If you find the key, that's one of the keys to doing the inspection, is to find the main control panel. Not that you're going to operate the main control panel. You just need to find out where it is and indicate that on your report, so the customer knows where it is. You need to check the power supply. Coming from the bottom or side of the control panel will be a cord with a transformer that's plugged into an outlet somewhere near the control panel. That outlet may be on the opposite wall, on the opposite side of the wall, or it may be right below the control panel, but there will be an outlet. Control panels, all of them, whether they're wireless or hardwired, have to use power to make them operate. If you approach the control panel and the box is open, the door is slightly open, whatever, you have two choices. You can open it carefully and take a look inside and see what the condition of the battery is and just the general condition of the inside of the control panel. If the box is closed with a screw or a lock and the lock is not there, don't open the panel. The only thing that can happen if you open that control panel is that something falls out if it's poorly installed, or the battery falls out, or whatever, and creates a problem that may materialize after you go home after the inspection. But if you can look inside, just see what the condition of the inside of the control panel is, and that the terminals are corroded or not corroded on the battery. Also, you need to find out if the keypad is live. In other words, it's got lights on it, either LED lights that indicate the status of the alarm system, or those are the older keypads, or the newer keypads which have text that indicates what the status of the control panel is, and if there's anything opened, or if just generally what the status of that control panel is. This is the typical control panel on the right hand side. You see it, the indication name down the bottom says Power 832. That is that's the manufacturer, and that's what we're looking for, not the ABC alarm system. It's I think there's a Honeywell control panel. Upper on the top is a backup battery. These batteries are designed to support the alarm system if the power goes out, and if they lose power to the house, the battery, depending on how big the alarm system is, will support that alarm system from 6 to 8 hours. And then on the left-hand side is the plug-in transformer to power the control panel. Plug-in transformers could be beige like this one, or brown, or black, or white. And once again, they're plugged into an outlet next to the control panel or near the control panel. One thing you should do is that if you find the control panel and you find that that transformer is unplugged and just hanging there, don't plug it in. All it can do is do something wrong. The reason that it's unplugged is that the current homeowner was probably having a problem with the alarm system, and it kept going off. And the only way that they could stop it from going off is to power it down. So they probably unplugged the outlet from the outlet, let the interior battery run down, and then you have a dead control panel. But you can also tell that by looking at the keypad. If there's no indicator lights or text on the keypad, that means that that system is dead. Control. When is it okay to operate the keypad? And I put never here. There's nothing you can do with the keypad, and you're not going to test some of the functions on the keypad because it requires that the home buyer or homeowner get involved with a code or whatever they have to do. So you can use the keypad to tell you if something's open or closed, but as far as pushing any buttons on the keypad, it's a sure formula for having somebody dispatched out to talk to you at the front steps about how to operate an alarm system. You don't need to ask for instructions, only utilize when necessary the purpose of entering the home. You're going to go into homes, as you all know, that are empty, the customer's not there, and you need to maybe operate the keypad to shut off the alarm system so you can complete your inspection. That would be the only case. All keypads should be checked to make sure well, where they are, for one thing, because you need to know the location, and then you also want to see if they're working or not. What to report. This is in the entire presentation will say that you need to locate, give the location of the components that you inspected, confirm functionality or could not determine. If there's no lights or anything on the keypad, then you could not determine. Battery terminals appear corroded. If you can't get to the batteries, you can't make that comment. If the keypad's got worn keys and looks pretty beat up, you need to make a comment to that about the on the report, and like missing parts or covers. And no power to the keypads could prevent further inspection of the alarm system. This is a pretty important function. If there's no power to the keypad, you really can't test the functionality of any of the components in the system. All you can do at that point is take inventory. Just go around and indicate on the report could not operate and the location of the different components. Next level of protection is door sensors. There's 3 different basic types of door sensors that you'll see. There's a recess switch magnet, which we'll take a look at a picture of it, which is put in the hinge side of the door. It's put in the top of the door and operates on a magnet switch basis. We'll talk about that in a second. There's a surface switch magnet, which you'll see a lot on windows or sliding glass doors. And there's a plunger roller ball, which is put in the hinge side of the door, which is what it is. It's when the door is closed, it pushes a button in and closes off the circuit for the alarm system. It could also look like a roller ball, and that's what the example picture is going to look like. Here's 6 different pictures, 6 different situations. The upper left-hand one is the recessed magnetic switch. The switch is on the side with the wire coming out of it. The other side is a magnet, and when those are close to each other, it closes off the switch, and when they are pulled apart by opening the door, it sets off the alarm. The one on the right, upper right, is a rollerball switch. It goes in the hinge side, and that little rollerball, when the door closes, pushes in, and if you open up the door, the ball pops out and opens up the circuit. The middle right is a traditional surface-mounted switch. You'll see that this happens to be a hardwired switch. You'll see those on windows and doors, and some doors. The left-hand one is a wireless combination switch. The switch is the magnets on the right-hand side, and the transmitter and the battery compartment is on the left-hand side, the big part of that stuff, and you'll see that on doors and also windows. Below it is a similar wireless components where the magnet and the switch are on the left-hand side and attached by a wire to a transmitter battery compartment. And the last one on the right-hand side bottom is a recess switch, just like the upper left-hand. This is a wireless one. You can see it's a lot bigger because it contains the switch, the transmitter, and the battery for that switch. Confirm functionality of door sensors. If keypad is operational, then testing doors is possible. Keypad, if it has LEDs on it or has text, digital text in the on the keypad, it will indicate whether there's a door or some device open in the circuit. Normally, if there is a red light that everything's closed, or sometimes that if there's no light, everything's closed. And then there's a green light that indicates everything's closed, and then if there's a red light, that means there's something open in the circuit. However, the digital ones, the ones you're going to see the most of, will indicate that there's a door open, and most of them will specify which door, front door open, whatever. To test this whole thing, just open the door closest to the keypad and see how the lights or the verbiage reacts on the keypad, and that'll tell you how it's working, and it'll be pretty easy to recognize. The best way to test the doors is using that keypad, if it's operational, by opening the door and the light goes out, or the text indicates the status of that door, and then close it, and go around and open and close all the at least the first floor doors. But you should go and look at all exterior doors. There's going to be some doors that are going to be not very easy to get to, and will be inaccessible from the outside. But you need to look at every door. What to report? On the report, the location of the door sensors. Confirm functionality or could not determine. That's if you have a keypad that's not working, or the system that's not working. Never use the word bad. We're not there to indicate whether it's good or bad. We're just that we could not test it, or we could not determine its operation. If wireless concern, you may make if the buyer is there, you may make a comment that you have wireless components in your system, and that they should have those tested, the batteries tested by a licensed alarm professional sometime after they move in. Do all main floor accessible exterior doors have sensors? 90% of all home invasions occur through the front and back door, and 50% of those are in the daytime. Most alarm systems, basic alarm systems, have two doors and a cup and two windows included in their basic package. But all the standard for the industry is that all exterior first floor doors should be protected. And then if there's any visible damage or loose sensors, you need to put that on the report. Really only two different types of switches that we use on windows. We have the recess switch magnets and the surface switch magnets and magnet. They're the exact same switches that we looked at under the doors. You can find the surface switches anywhere on the bottom or along the side of the window. Once again, if they're large or larger than a typical one, a smaller one, that's probably going to be a wireless switch. Should all windows have sensors on them? Less break-ins through windows and doors, as we just talked about. Multiple windows can be covered by other types of sensors like motion and glass breaks, and we'll talk about that in a second. Some windows are difficult to gain access to, like a third floor. If the burglar has to put a ladder up against the side of the house to get to a window, that's not going to happen. Just not unless there is some super valuable paintings on the third floor or second floor, but it's just not going to happen because it attracts too much attention, makes too much noise, and it's just not convenient. As I said before, most alarm systems come with at least two window sensors as a standard, and few homeowners purchase additional outside or initial installation of the construction. It's expensive to do windows. Wireless is less expensive, and hardware is very expensive to do windows. So you're going to see customers utilizing motion detectors and glass break detectors to back up the windows. Then once again, you're going to confirm the function of the key window sensors. If the keypad is operational, then testing windows is possible. Once again, the same way you do doors. You go around and you open each window. What really has, most systems have chimes in them, and like when you go through into a grocery store or drugstore, the door chimes. Keypads are alarm systems over the last 10 years are very capable of doing that, and a lot of homeowners use that on all the time. If that's the case, then it's very easy to test it. You just go around and open windows and listen for the chime. If, however, there is no chime, and if you can ask your home buyer or realtor to give you a hand, that'll help you out also. The keypad should visually audibly indicate if a window is open, as we've just talked. All protection and unprotected windows must be checked. You need to open and close each window, each accessible window. Location of window sensors, what to report, confirm functionality or could not confirm functionality. Once again, that's if you have a keypad that you can test them with. That's the only way to do it. Do not report as bad. Do not use the word bad in your report. If wireless, indicate to the home buyer that they may want to have those wireless sensors checked because of battery life. And visual damage or loose sensors. If it doesn't look good, put it on the report. Motion sensors. The next line of protection, they're backup motion sensors is referred to. They detect movement in the home, which is kind of obvious. Designed as backup to door and window protection. Most sensors use dual sensing technologies to avoid false alarms. In the old days, they came out with motion sensors that only detected the movement in front of it. So if a drape moved back and forth, or window or fans, ceiling fans, would set off false alarms. It didn't take them very long to realize, well, I need to detect movement and heat. So that's what the dual technologies are. Two technologies in the detector. Both of them have to go off at the same time. So something moving in front of the detector at the body heat of a human being is ideal for the dual technology. Then there's also, you're going to see photo beams, and you've seen those in commercial buildings and factories and stuff like that. You may see some photo beams in houses, normally in garages and large openings. Most detectors will be located in bedroom hallways or pointed at stairs leading to the second floor. We know statistically that if somebody breaks in over the years, one of the first places they go to is the master bedroom. So we want to cut the master bedroom off from the rest of the house. So that's why you see them aimed at stairs, or at least towards the master bedroom hallway. Jewelry, furs, cash, guns in the master bedroom is what they're looking for. Detector can also be found covering a group of unprotected windows. If there's a family room in the back of the house and there's a bunch of sliding glass doors and windows, you'll have a detector that shoots across behind that glass. So if anybody breaks the glass and crawls in through the window, which is a small percentage of time, then the motion detector will pick them up. You also find detectors pointing at valuable items, china closets, gun safes, that kind of thing. Not a lot, you'll see, but every once in a while in a really high-end house you may see that. Motion sensors should never be pointed directly at windows or at heat generating sources. What that does is it takes away the one of the two technologies from the whole thing. So then it becomes a single technology false alarm generator. How to test the motion sensor. Most sensors have LEDs on them or lights that indicate if there's any movement in front of them. If you move in front of them and you see the lights on, it could have 1, 2, 3 lights on the front of the motion sensor, then you assume that sensor is working. However, if the system is not powered up and is not working, there won't be any lights. You won't see any change in the status of that motion sensor. Here's an example of 4 different motion sensors. One on the upper left is a ceiling mount 360 motion sensor. The other are mounted normally in the corner of a room or on a side wall. Little indicator lights, those little slots are indicator lights of them detect any motion. The upper right hand one probably is the most common one you'll see, or at least that shape. You have to be concerned that you not identify a motion sensor from a glass break detector, and we'll talk about glass break detectors in a second. But in some cases they look very similar. You just have to take a look at them and look for the indicator lights and also the location of the sensor. What you're going to report on the report, once again, is location of the motion sensor, confirm functionality or could not determine. Once again, if the system isn't powered up, you're not going to be able to test anything. Do not report as bad, as we've talked about 3 or 4 times. Wireless detectors. Wireless detectors are bigger. They just have a deeper base on them. And they're pretty obvious from if you see a standard one and a wireless one together. Indicate the transmitter and the battery have to go into the motion sensor, so you should be able to determine whether it's a wireless or a hardwired motion sensor. And then, of course, if it's hanging off by a screw or it looks like somebody took a hammer to the thing, then you need to report that on the report. Next type of protection is a glass break detector. Detector serves as a backup to door and window protection. They are what they say they are. They detect the sound of breaking glass, like a window. Glass breakers are designed to send an alarm if glass is broken. Once again, the industry learned very quickly that you have to have some kind of dual technology to ward off false alarms. So the glass break detector detects as a high-pitched sound of breaking glass and the pressure change when you have a break-in window. So it avoids false alarms, and they're pretty easy. They're pretty false alarm free. Detectors often, as long as they're installed correctly, detectors often used to cover a group of windows that may or may not be protected with a magnetic switch. The glass breakers are normally found in the ceiling near the windows or sliding glass, or they can be on a sidewall, but they will be very close to the windows or sliding glass doors. They may even point at the windows and doors, unlike motion detectors. A typical detector has a range of about 15 feet. So I've seen installers stretch that to 30 feet, and it really is unfair to the homeowner because it won't go 30 feet. It won't detect that breaking window 30 feet away. Detectors should not be installed in kitchens or bathrooms because of the increased chance of false alarms. Because of the hard surfaces in kitchens and bathrooms, really negates the dual technology of it. Testing alarm detector is difficult without the use of a special tool that simulates breaking glass. Even most alarm technicians will not test them unless they have an indication that that's the problem when they do a service call. There is a handheld device that you can buy for $50 and it simulates breaking glass. It's not necessary for you to do that. Once again, glass break detectors are an inventory item. Here's an example of several glass break type detectors. Top 2 and the 3 down the side are all pretty typical. As you can see, they're different. Those little black dots in those are microphones to pick up sound. Lower left-hand side is a combination glass break detector switch. So you install this on the side of a window, and the small part goes on the window, the moving part of the window, and the large part goes on the frame. And if there's a breaking window without them opening it, then this detector will take it. And then the curly Q one with the round one is normally a shock sensor that is stuck directly onto the window or onto the window frame, and detects any movement or breaking of the glass. Those detectors can also sense just pressure on the glass too. You don't see a lot of them in the residential environment. What to report? Location of glass break sensor. Confirm functionality. If you could not determine, you probably could not determine functionality. You're not going to be able to determine functionality, so you're going to indicate the location. Wireless, once again, glass break detectors have a deeper base on them if they are wireless. Warn of false alarms, just verbally warn of false alarms, potential false alarms if the detectors are not in the correct places. And then once again, if it's hanging off the wall or looks like somebody put a baseball bat to it, then you need to report that on the report. Fire protection. Two types of fire protection in a house: a smoke sensor and a heat detector. These are not tested during an alarm inspection. It requires special equipment and special tools, and also an access to the control panel to reset the alarms. Smoke detectors are primarily forms of fire detection in a home and should be in every home, and in most communities and jurisdictions around the United States they are required, particularly in new construction, but anytime there's any remodeling made or anything like that on a house, the code wants you to bring that up to code for smoke detectors. Three different types of smoke detectors. There's a battery-operated standalone one, the ones that you buy at Home Depot. They are flat, and everybody's seen them. You'll see those. You'll see a builder installed to meet code. Under code, builders have to install smoke detectors. Sometimes smoke detectors can be installed in every bedroom, several in the living room area, and then outside the reach of the kitchen. The interesting thing about that is that the builder installed smoke detectors are normally hooked up to a sounding device, the local sounding device, but they're not monitored. So they make a lot of noise, but they don't alert the fire department. And then the final one is the alarm company installed low voltage wireless or wire to wireless control to the control panel. The alarm company one and the builder installed one in most cases look almost identical. So it's very difficult to determine which one is which, and we don't want you to do that. All you're going to do is inventory smoke detectors. On the report, the number of smoke detectors and where they're located. Even the battery operated one. Smoke detectors are normally ceiling mounted and can be mounted on sidewalls close to the ceiling. Smoke detectors should be located outside of each bedroom area or at the highest point in the home. Don't be surprised if you find a smoke detector in every bedroom. Detectors should never be installed in kitchens, attics, crawl spaces, or garage. It is difficult to test smoke detectors. Their location and count should be reported. Once again, you're not going to test, just like glass break detectors, you're not going to test the smoke sensors. And the reason that you don't find them, should not find them in kitchens, is because of smoke generated by just regular cooking. Attics, crawl spaces, and garages are not normally temperature controlled, and smoke detectors don't work very good in non-temperature controlled environments. Heat detectors, the next level to fill the void of the smoke detectors is heat detectors, are designed to detect excess heat. Heat detectors are often used in areas that are not conducive to smoke detectors. Heat detectors are found in attics, crawl spaces, garages, laundry rooms, and kitchens. These are all places that you can't put a smoke detector. Heat detectors are located at the highest point in the room. You'll mostly see heat detectors, if you see them at all, in attics. Here's some heat detectors and smoke detectors. The top two and the one on the left-hand side are different types of smoke sensors. They normally will have some kind of indicator light on them that indicates whether they're working and also that they're getting power. Heat detector on the lower right hand side is normally smaller than that. It's not the same size as the smoke sensor. It has no lights on it because it's not a powered device. It just uses a mechanical switch inside when it detects high heat. But I'm sure all of you have seen those type of smoke detectors in houses, in your own house probably. What to report: location of the smoke heat detector and the type did not test. If wireless, confirm. Wireless smoke detectors, and you're not going to find a lot of wireless smoke detectors, indicate batteries may be up for replacement. Once again, a deeper base on a smoke detector, and there will only be the alarm company installed ones with the wireless one. And once again, if you find a really bad looking smoke detector that looks like it's been beat up a little bit, indicate that on the report. Audible alerts are sirens. Sirens are used to alert homeowners of emergency, also to alert neighbors and scare away intruders. Most homes have at least one siren, especially if there is a fire detection equipment. Some homes have exterior sirens, but nowadays and recently, a lot of communities have outlawed exterior sirens on homes because of the false alarm and siren, the bad rap that sirens and alarm systems have gotten over the years of taking off and keeping people awake in the middle of the night. The newer homes and newer control panels have eliminated that problem, but there's still some old stuff out there that you set off a siren, set off an alarm system at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the neighbors get really upset. Sirens should be located in each sleeping area. For obvious reasons, sirens can be found in air returns, closets, or in plain sight. Example of 3 different types of sirens: a regular horn siren that everybody's seen. You see those in the attics and air returns there. The one in the middle is a surface mount, looks like a doorbell. How you can tell whether that's an alarm siren or a doorbell is you go out and push the doorbell at the front door. And if that box doesn't sound, it's probably an alarm siren. One on the right-hand side is also a surface mount PCO high volume siren sounding device, and you'll find that once again, hopefully nearer in the bedroom area. What to report: location of the siren. You're not going to test the siren. You're not going to set the system off. And you can indicate did not test, and then any visible damage to the siren. CCTV Protection I only mention this because it's become very, very popular, and it is spreading all over the place. The CCTV cameras are used to monitor interior and exterior homes. Cameras can be wired or wireless. Nowadays, they're mostly wireless. Cameras can be live or at all times. It can be tripped if they detect motion. Most cameras can be monitored remotely using a computer or any smartphone device. They're difficult to test without the help of homeowner. You're just going to inventory the CCTV Protection, and it's become so well designed that you might not even know it's there behind pictures or on something on a vase on a chimney and or whatever. You may not even know there. So if you see it, just report it. Just inventory it. Here's an example of 4 different types of cameras. Most of them are exterior camera. The one on the lower left is an interior camera that kind of sits on a desk and kind of disappears. Just report the location of the cameras and the equipment. Did not test, and the visible damage. And one item that is over the last several years has become very, very popular and in some communities required is carbon monoxide detectors. Carbon monoxide are installed in homes to detect the odorless, colorless gas. Detectors should be located close to the floor since CO is heavier than air. Detectors should be located near gas-powered appliances. Combination smoke and CO detectors mounted on ceiling. So you're going to find CO detectors either 12, 18 inches above the floor, or you're going to find them and they look like smoke detectors. Most of them will be marked that they're CO detectors, but the technology is kind of so that you don't no longer have to have a CO detector located on near the floor. It can be mounted just like a smoke detector. 3 examples of thing. The one in the left hand, upper left, is a sidewall mounted above the floor detector. The other 2 look a lot like smoke sensors, and the first alert one on the left hand side is definitely a CO detector. You can see the labeling on it. The one on the right hand side has all the lights, looks like a smoke detector. So, sometimes tough to discern. You're going to see a lot of these in brand new construction because they're being required. This is we're almost finished, and we are we want to just go through this report. You're going to have access to this report, and it's a pretty simple document. It's just 1 page, and let's just go down it to review what the components of the report are. Of course, the inspection date. Ferris Bueller had a day off, and he wanted to have his house inspected. Buyer's name first is Michael Scott, 16 Pennsylvania Avenue. I guess we're doing the White House, City, Washington, D.C. Approximate square footage 85,000. I don't know whether any of you guys have done an 85,000 square foot house. Sealing the client phone and the client email needed in there. Does the client plan on installing and monitoring currently installed alarm systems? It's pretty important if you're involved with a couple other programs. It's very important that we know yes or no whether they are even thinking about activating this alarm system. The buyer is activating the alarm system. Is there any alarm system present in the home? I keep asking myself that why should I include this question? If I'm filling out this form, there's an alarm system in there, and if I'm not filling it out, I'm probably not going to fill out this form. We'll do some modifications down the road. Is there power to the alarm system at the time of inspection? That's pretty important because that determines whether it's an inventory inspection or if it's a full house inspection. Alarm system types. You can have a totally wireless house, which houses probably in the last 5 years, you'll find a lot of that. You'll find some wireless sensors or a hardwired system, and once again, if it's older than 10, 15 years, it's probably a hardwired system, and then a hybrid is a combination of the 2. So most of your stuff is going to be, most of the alarm systems are going to be wireless sensors and hardwired, combination of the 2, which would be a hybrid. Name of the control panel, once again, it's Honeywell and not ABC alarm system. And then this is just very simple, the inventory portion of the inspection report. It's pretty obvious. Control panel, where was it located? Was it working? No alarm emissions were performed. You can say that, or you can make some other comment about the control panel. Keypad, kitchen, if there's 2, you want kitchen and front door, kitchen and back door. And if they're functional, they're fine. You may not have any comment about the keypad, but you at least gave the location and the number of keypads in the house. Motion detector, one in the living room. Once again, if there's more than 1 motion sensor, you need to indicate with the location of each of those motion sensors, and you can abbreviate in that area. Motion sensors, if they were active and you were able to walk in front of them and make them work, then you can say functional. And if they were not, function could not be verified at the time of inspection. Glass break detectors, same thing as motion sensors. You want to list the location of each one of them, and you can't. The statement of unable to test will appear in the notes. Siren, if you can locate it. Sometimes you're not going to be able to locate that siren since you're not going to set it off, so you're not going to be able to eliminate where it's not. So a siren, and then you indicate if you could not find it, but if you could find it, then you said inside the return air duct or in the bedroom hallway. Door contacts, you can put multiple there that you were able to test them, yes, and then be as specific as possible about the location of those contacts. This says all main floor entries have contacts. And I said door cons, right? Okay, and that's good enough. Window contacts, same situation. You want to indicate where they are. You may find that and if you could test them, you put yes. You may find that you have the window sensors just on the master bedroom windows, or just all the windows across the back of the house, or just the family room windows. You need to be specific about where those are located. And then smoke detectors, multiple, and they were not tested. You need to put the location of the smoke detectors. Okay. Heat detectors, the same situation. You need to put how many, and generally where they, no, not generally, where they are. Then there's some other items here. We're going to edit this report soon and take some of the stuff out of here because you're not going to find a lot of it. But there's a video equipment and garage door sensor down there. Once again, it's a location of the sensor and whether you can operate it or not. Resources. You're going to have the access to logos, which we're going to show you in a minute. You're going to be able to get a certificate of completion. You just need to let us know that you would like a written, formal, frameable certificate of completion. However, the system automatically will issue a certificate for you, so you can show whoever you want that you've completed this course. And then we also have promotional flyers for home buyers and realtors. Here's a flyer that you can use when you talk to realtors about doing the home inspection, and you can give to the home buyer. Here's an example of the different certificate logos that you can use on your business cards, brochures. And this is a copy of what the certificate of completion. You tell us you would like one and we will send one to you. So that is the end of the course, and thank you very much for participating, and good luck with your alarm inspections. Thank you.